Last time on Dragon Ball Z, the days of floating in the kiddie pool were finally coming to an end as the World Tournament's junior division finally made its way to its climax, with none other than Son Goten and Trunks as the stars of the show. The little fellas expeditiously proved why the new generation of Saiyan hybrids were fundamentally built different from the rest of the pack, exhibiting a level of speed and power that would not only have been considered just a tad unfair in the youth competition, but would have had every single grown adult not wearing a Z-Crew varsity jacket bent over their knee and crying uncle after the first blow. But even those in the audience familiar with the two shonen bruisers couldn't help but stare in awe at the sheer level of martial technique and outlandish potential on display. Well, I say everyone, but there was one curly-headed gaslighter who was less than thrilled at what he was watching. Not only because of the fact that these two hellspawn in the form of elementary schoolers were giving him more intrusive thoughts than when 18 be walking around the house with them jeans on, but also he was obligated to box whichever one of these Neanderthals came out on top. And as if to mockingly confirm his worst nightmares, the munchkin who was the spitting image of his old man in the orange jumpsuit and the flash turned yellow, gained an insane burst of strength, then switched his hair back to black as if everything was completely normal. Satan had no more questions. His nightmares were confirmed as he would soon be getting put in a full body cast and have his legacy ruined by the sperm donor of the man who actually helped put Cell to sleep. You couldn't write more poetic irony than that if you tried. And so as the death knells rung voraciously in Satan's ears, we return to the two junior division titans who were looking to settle the score once and for all. Trunks, channeling a fraction of his old man's cockiness, thought he saw a glimpse of the best that old Goten had to offer once his rival turned Super Saiyan and decided to pop off a little bit, telling Goten that just for the Doug funnies, he was going to go the rest of the match using only his left arm because the young warrior was that light of work. Goten's reaction is the best because rather than getting super heated that he's being underestimated, he's more curious if Trunks actually got the gumballs to back his little flex up. So he takes his older counterpart up on the offer and the two proceed with a match. And it's little moments like this that not only serve as a charming little bit of comic relief in the action, but also work as foreshadowing to leave breadcrumbs for the attentive viewer as to some of the fatal flaws that will become disgustingly apparent when these two little nincompoops fuse and the stakes get raised astronomically later on in the arc. Just a quick side note, I can't tell y'all how tight I used to get watching Gotenks fumble the Majin bag once his Saiyan genetics start going haywire. But now looking at the whole affair, I just side-eye the whole adult cast with the worst of intentions. Like, come on dog, be really for real. The best y'all could come up with was to outsource the safety of the human race as a whole to two first graders multiplying their power after flossing and hitting the gritty. I don't care how powerful they might be, those two are still children. Kinda understand Goku's whole thing about wanting to leave the safety of the earth in the hands of earthlings and letting them handle their own business once and for all. But homie still needs a Saiyan-sized ass whooping for leaving something so significant in the hands of two boys who are barely out of pull-ups. Homie barely learned anything from the Gohan experiment, I fear. But anyways, let's get back to the boxing before I go on too large of a tangent because that's a whole ass story for a different commentary. Back in our original neck of the woods, young Trunks was quickly coming to regret his little gentleman's agreement with Goten, because the moment he agreed to use only one hand, mans like Goten started coming heavy with the oppression session, throwing out all kinds of godforsaken combinations he hadn't used before and putting the briefs estate prodigy into panic mode. It gets so bad little homie Trunks presses the get off me button and shoots a key attack, leading Goten to gain some distance before he starts rapidly ascending into the air and making a profusely panicking Trunks postulate the potential possibilities of the puny pugilist. Once Goten begins descending to the arena floor at an alarming rate, Trunks realizes strat. The kid was planning to dive bomb from a ridiculous height to power up his next attack and put him to sleep. No worries though, cause man like Kid Trunks had no fear, he had just a plan. Right at that moment, using his trauma-informed reflexes, Trunks will hop out the way, causing Goten to eat dirt, making him the new junior division champion, ensuring the status quo that the rich get richer. And to be honest, it looked like everything was going to plan. Until little homie Goten revealed that his fight IQ was nothing to be reckoned with either. And before hitting the ground and leaving a permanent imprint of his face in the Tenkaichi Budokai gravel, he used his arm to switch directions and was prepared to give Trunks the headbutt of a lifetime, all but ensuring his victory. But young Trunks proved that he has more than a little of that Namek Saga Vegeta DNA running through his veins, and in a single breath broke both of his promises to Goten, turning Super Saiyan to give him the needed speed boost to hop out of the way of danger, and using his left arm to shoot a ki blast at the young fighter's back, leading him to fly out the ring, inadvertently touching his Kakarot 7s to the bleachers, and a surprising and somewhat anticlimactic victory for the young Capsule Corp heir. Trunks. And man, back in the day, watching Goten get absolutely robbed the way he did had young KJM feeling away. But to be real, this is about as satisfying of an ending as you could realistically hope to get. Ultimately, there had to be a winner and a loser in the situation, and while Goten didn't take home the dub, I appreciate the way Toriyama let little buddy lose gracefully. He didn't take an L by getting curb stomped by Trunks in an overwhelming display of power. Rather, his naivete in thinking Trunks would absolutely play by the rules no matter what happened led to a momentary lapse in caution and a loss on a technicality that once again leaves some narrative breadcrumbs exploring why Goten, and specifically Gotenks, may not be ready for the mantle of savior being thrust upon them by the older generation. One thing I like a lot about the Buu Saga is one of its major overarching themes that runs throughout the whole arc. That being that the winner of a fight is not always determined by raw strength alone. There are so many parts throughout the Buu Saga where our heroes and even Buu himself has an overwhelming strength advantage over their opponent, but through flaws in character, personality, or strategy, they fumble the bag and leave the door open for an upset. It's not enough just to be strong as hell when you're trying to survive and protect what's important. Winning, and winning consistently, requires experience, the right strats, the correct mindset, just a little bit of luck. When any of those things is missing, you risk leaving your chances for a dub up to fate and the goddess of victory rather than your own hard-won abilities and competence. And once that happens, you're gambling. And there are some things you just don't want to leave in the hands of a dice roll. But now I'm getting into my Kaishi bag, and that's a video essay for another day. Back in the Junior Division Finals, Trunks was being celebrated by the masses for his historic youth tournament victory. As y'all might have guessed, Son Goten was none too happy about the robbery that just transpired and started to press young Trunks heavy about his lack of gentleman's etiquette. And Trunks' reaction is perfectly written and exactly what you would expect from an older kid who just got caught lacking by his junior but still wants to seem cool. Look, bud, don't even make a big deal out of it. My back just started tingling out of nowhere and it just sort of happened, you know? You can't even come at me because you did it first. And if you really want to be technical about it, I didn't actually hit you with my hand, I shot a ki blast. So if we're going to keep it a whole senzu, technically my promise is still good. But if you really got to be a baby about it, then tell me what new skin you want on the Dragon Ball FighterZ obby, and I'll take some of the Robux I'm going to have with my prize earnings and get you something, you little wiener. Even funnier than Trunks' copes though was Vegeta's reaction seeing his son catch a dub off Kakarot's second born. Vegeta was up top patting his homie Goku in the back like old golfing buddies talking about, "Oh, too bad, Kakarot. Guess we know which of our sons got the dominant genes now, don't we? Guess being going with the milk for 7 years really does a whopper on your bloodline's power level, am I right?" This man could not have been more proud and more petty if he tried, and had a big-ass goofy smile soaking up every minute of it. But while Vegeta was having his best day so far on this goofy planet they call Earth, Hercule might have been having his worst. Backstage, as preparations were being made for the youth tournament winner to spar with the world champ, Hercule was abusing his prefrontal cortex for any possible way out of this ass-beating Kevin McAllister was about to pull on his middle-aged short and curlies. After confirming that Trunks wasn't in need of a break after his match with Son Goten, at the behest of the roaring crowd, announcer Sama called out for the invincible Mr. Satan to make his appearance, and blessed the ring with his martial prowess to show the young champ that he was still 10 years too early to match up with him in the ring. With a smile on his face and tears in his eyes, Satan kept his best poker face and emerged from backstage barking loudly at Trunks, hoping that maybe his mouthpiece would be good enough to help him escape the inevitable. Hercule's exaggerated reactions really sell the feeling of pure terror he was battling with, but what was even better was homie just exploded on Goten. Little dude was in the back like, "Got buddy!" just cheering on his homie in the most innocent fashion possible. When Hercule turns around to him close to sobbing like that one R. Kelly clip, "Don't you know I'm fighting for my life out here?" Do not tell this man to do his best. Homies, Goten was so lost. Poor kid was just sitting there staring at the man like, "What'd I do?" with pure confusion. With 0 ounces of respect, the moment Trunks was about to begin his sparring match with Satan, every member of the Z crew started packing up their lawn chairs and sodas like, "Alright, nothing more to see here. Guess we start warming up ourselves." When Vidal was like, "Hold up, y'all know that kid, right? I mean, don't y'all want to see how he stacks up against my pops, the world champ?" Barely able to keep his composure, Gohan and his do-rag try their hardest to help his girl save face, looking over at the rest of the crew like, "Yeah, guys, I mean, this could be a good fight. Don't you want to see how it turns out?" And I cap you not, without breaking stride, they just keep it pushing like, "Yeah, whatever you say, big dog. See you at the other side of the stadium when you wake up from that fire-ass daydream you're having." I promise, this is the type of stuff that makes you wake up in a cold sweat at night. Just the absolute worst kind of disrespect. There's truly nothing worse than when you get roasted by someone who's being genuine. The Z homies weren't even trying to cook up her pops like that, but they have such little respect for dude that their sincere response was worse than any possible insult they could have come up with. Below, the champ decided that he was gonna go out, he was gonna make it look good, feeding into the crowd by throwing off his Satan cloak in dramatic fashion and wowing the audience with a unique kata demonstrating the supremacy of Satan-style martial arts. Trunks deserves the display and is absolutely certain that this guy has to be pretending to be this ass, because there's no way that someone who has earned the title of martial arts champ of the world could possibly be as washed as what he's seeing in front of him. Convinced this had to be the case, Trunks started getting serious, hitting his warm-up and preparing his body for the upcoming war of attrition, when Satan peeps that little dude is actually about to box him seriously and literally screams at him to stop stretching this instant and hear him out. Satan tries to convince the young animal that the fight they were about to have was just a little exhibition, a game really, and it's nothing at all to take serious. Trunks looks at this grown man straight in the eye and says, "Hell no, I'm going all out. I know what you're trying to do. You're just trying to pretend to be this trash when in reality, you're going to start our match and you're going to pull out the real stuff to try to catch me off guard." Satan, second after second, realizing that arguing with an 8-year-old is like arguing with a brick wall, pleads to the young fighter with tears in his eyes, telling him that he's being a childish brat. To which Trunks' smart ass replies, well, that's what I am, so I guess it's age appropriate. Hercule, seeing the entirety of his life flash right before his eyes as the announcer prepares to begin the match, goes for one last gambit, invoking the powers of his inner Colin Kaepernick, dropping to one knee and screaming out in agony. As the confused masses watch their savior, unable to understand what they're seeing, Satan saves them the trouble and announces that it was something that he was hoping to keep secret, but his old knee injury he got from fighting off Cell back in the day has started to flare up, and he doesn't know if he'll be able to continue the exhibition. I know if Vegeta was peeping this, he probably had his 2 cents to be sure to let the crowd know that there's only one technique Satan's got that can involve him dropping to his knees to stop Cell, and there will be no injuries because he always packs an extra set of knee pads. On the surface, concern for the champ, but a big part of me likes to think that he's a massive troll. Announcer Sama speaks out in concern for their hero and begins beckoning for a doctor to come take a look at the damage. But then, in what can only be described as an act of bravery and sheer force of will, the champ, struggling with all his might, makes his way to his feet and enters a fighting stance, determined to not let the people, his people, down. As Trunks prepares himself by throwing punches at mock speed while shadow boxing, old Uncle Hercule decided that he wasn't out of tricks yet and had one more play he would like to make before finalizing his will. While the kid may be a monstrous powerhouse, he's still exactly that, a dumb kid. So if I, the perfect marriage of both knowledge and power that is Mr. Satan, can use my fully developed grown man brain to outfox this kid, I may still survive. So Satan approaches the now warmed up young warrior and tells him about a ritual between champs. A champion's ritual, one might even venture to call it. Where in a show of good faith, two champs deliver just the lightest tap to the face that they can muster as a showcase of sportsmanship between two world-class competitors. Having never been a tournament champ before and having no real reason to think the savior of the people would be lying, Trunks goes along with the plan and agrees to start things off with a love tap. Satan, thinking that he at long last has finally found his out after the stomach-churning turn of fate that he had experienced, began showing his ass in the only way Mr. Satan can, returning to the ring with his patented double peace signs and taunting young Trunks as the announcer gives the okay for the games to begin. Feeling extra spicy and without a care in the world, old King Farquaad over here moves his massive cranium right next to Trunks, thinking that everything is about to go exactly as planned. Trunks will tap him, he's going to sell as hard as humanly possible, pretend to be KO'd, and in the process save both his public image as well as his life. And honestly pretty brilliant plan, all things considered. The only thing he didn't account for is the reality that a Super Saiyan's very lightly is just a bit different than a washed world champs. And Trunks' light jab sends this man Satan into the shadow realm right next to Yugimoto's grandpa. And the slow-mo effect the animation team added was pure unadulterated kino. Every flap on Satan's lion-ass face was clapping like an OF's model Instagram reel as the people's champ got duffed into the side of the stadium wall. It left a full body imprint and man just fell to the floor motionlessly. And this is no exaggeration. Peeping Gohan and Vidal's contrasting reaction after watching her old man literally get put through a wall made me laugh out loud like a nutcase when I was reading it. Gohan is sweating bullets through gritted teeth like, God damn, Trunks, did you honest to calm me have to do the man like that? And Vidal's eyes are just completely bugged out, unable to reconcile the fact that the strongest fighter in the world, her own pops of all people, got slept by her crush's nephew in front of the whole world and he high-key might not ever be able to walk again. I can't even fathom how much it took this man Hercule Satan to stand up on his own too after that. But lo and behold, buddy struggled to his feet, turned his chest to face the audience and full-faced belly laugh talking about some, oh shucks, you're really really got me, kid. That's a real dynamite punch you got there, if I do say so myself. Buddy's gaslight domain expansion was so strong it even had little Trunks who threw the punch second guessing what happened. Looking at his fist and looking back at Hercule and wondering, wait, so did I hurt him or is he actually mad strong? He just couldn't get a read on the dude. And here, with the young fighter's bewilderment and the champ's belabored breathing, is where we'll call it. Homies, I cannot express how much of a kick I got out of this whole affair. Goten and Trunks was top notch, Z-Warrior's disrespect was at an all-time high, and Hercule is a Division 1 gaslighter. It doesn't get too much better than that. Tune in next time as the adults prepare to step up to the plate at the Budokai and encounter a mysterious pair of strangers they can't get a read on. What kind of secrets could these two be hiding that could have the normally stoic Piccolo so beside himself? Only one way to find out. Be easy, everyone. Catch you again in the next video.